Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about it's all about hate, brainwashing, manipulation, bigotry, YouTube money, grifting, and trying to turn people against people of color. How people constant moaning, bitching, and complaining was never about red hair, but it was always about race, mainly black people. So stop me if you heard this one before. Hollywood needs to stop race bending like our characters and preserve like redhead people, ginger people, because ginger people are rarely seen on screen. Why? Why do they always have to race bend a ginger to black? I have red hair. I want to see a red haired person on screen. Why are they always race bending them to black? And constantly you've been hearing this for the past, ever since like the Black Little Mermaid. And so, but race bending gingers to black have been going on ever since the Flash, or better yet, Young Flash, or better yet, what's his name? Kid Flash, that's it. Wally West and everything. When they race bent him in the comics, and then they race bent him for the Flash live action television show. So it's not nothing new. However, I will say yes, Hollywood does tend to constantly race bend gingers into black people on screen. I don't know why, they just do. Same thing with Iris West on the live action Flash show. However, ever since they've been doing this, I've constantly seen one comment after another, one video after another of there's always some angry white person online talking about stop race bending redheads and everything, and preserve redheads and stop race bending white people, and oh, they must hate white people. This is why they're always turning them black on screen and this and that and blah, blah, blah. And of course, when the Little Mermaid movie came out, people had like a firestorm and everything. They was outraged. They was outraged that they race bent like the Little Mermaid, a fictional mermaid character, because mermaids are fiction, and turned her black. They kept her with kind of brownish red hair, but yeah, they race bent her from a white redhead to a black actress and stuff. And people were just pissed and they was outraged and talking about how dare they do this and everything. And you know, you remember how that was back then. Then of course came April O'Neil. For two Ninja Turtle projects, they've turned her into a black girl, which normally she's depicted as a white woman depending on her hair color. In the 1980s cartoon, it was more of a brown color, kind of reddish, but it was really light brown. And then in every other cartoon, she's had like red hair or orange hair, trying to make it look red and stuff like that. In the comics, it is really truly debatable. Was she supposed to be black? Was she supposed to be white? The debate has been going on for years, mainly because of the creator, or one of the co-creators, who modeled this after his girlfriend, who was half black, half Asian. But then in the really early comic book days, you see her as white, but then later on you see her as black, then you see her as white again. So that is really debatable, and it's really hard to pinpoint what race she was supposed to be. But nevertheless, like there's been this outcry, this rage about stop like race bending like redheads, right? However, there is one type of redhead they never complain about. And this is what this video is supposed to be about today, and the reason why you see this thumbnail up and everything. I noticed something. People are extremely silent when it comes to that of Jimmy Olsen and that of, I think his name is Krem from the DC Comics. I thought to myself, okay, this is odd. They're always complaining about April O'Neil being black now. They're upset about the Little Mermaid being black. But I've never seen not one person complain about Jimmy Olsen not having red hair in live action. And now this brand new person who has finally come into live action, Krim from the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow comic, who doesn't look nothing like his comic counterpart and everything. And so that stopped and made me think. I'm just like, okay, it was never ever about the red hair. It was always just about race. That's the only thing that these people are outraged and complaining about, and on YouTube and on Twitter, just crying their eyes out, being angry and frustrated with their grumpy looking faces and everything. It's never about the red hair. It's always about race, because secretly they don't like people of color, mainly black people and stuff. Because there has been tons and tons and tons of live action Jimmy Olsen's, and not one actor has ever sported red hair. And this has been going on since the 80s and the 70s. But yet you've never seen not one person outraged that Jimmy Olsen doesn't have red hair. Where are they at? Why aren't they screaming and protesting online? Why aren't they outraged? Why aren't they crying their eyes out? Why aren't they pissing in their pants and everything? Because they don't care. Because deep down inside, it's not about the red hair. Deep down inside, it's about the good old-fashioned racism and everything. And the good old-fashioned, oh, we have to be number one on top, and everybody else has to be on bottom. And that's what it's always been about. It's always been about race. The moment they race bend one white character, oh, suddenly the world must end and everything. And it's funny because now with the Supergirl movie that's about to come out, we finally got the trailer, we finally got a glimpse of the villain, and the villain doesn't look nothing like he does in the comic. He ain't got no red beard, he ain't got no red shaggy hair, he ain't got none of that. Instead, they just made him look like a bump face, like, you know, alien with bumps all over his face and stuff. And what's funny is that the actor actually looks like the comic book counterpart. He just doesn't have red hair and stuff. So, but where was the outrage, I'm wondering? Why aren't they complaining and stuff? Why don't you see tons of men just crying their eyes out, like online and stuff? Like, I remember one time when it came to Little Mermaid, there was this woman talking about, I have red hair and I want to see red hair on screen. And instead they race bent the Little Mermaid and I'm not being represented. But where is this woman now when it comes to Jimmy Olsen and when it comes to whatever his face is? Most likely she probably doesn't like DC Comics, but still. So anytime you hear one person complain that, oh, they race bent a redhead and turned them to a different color, they're not mad. They're not outraged. They don't care about the red hair. It's only about the race, because they feel like they are superior to none other race, and they can't stand it when they see another race on screen. And the whole race bending thing, that's just a reason for them to get clicks and views and likes and have more people in the general audience be outraged and stuff like that, because they just want to turn this into like a race war, some type of culture war and everything. Because they are little bigots. They are little clickbait whores that want you to pay their bills so YouTube can give them money and everything. It's never, ever, ever, ever about the red hair. It's only been about race and race only. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.